Have you ever been taken for granted? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting my journey as I transition from the brick and mortar to the corporate business. Today is day 1323 of What You Up To Now. I just call it What You Up To Now because it's my way of journaling what I'm working on, what I'm doing as I make that transition from the offline to the online world. My original objective was to duplicate my offline success in business in the online world. Have not reached that goal yet. Have not exactly not exactly duplicate, just from a financial standpoint was my original intention. Haven't done that yet, so I'm continuing to do things online. And in the last year or so with COVID and everything, I've actually started to cross back over into the offline world again, to do things in both realms, as if they're different universes. Sometimes it feels like they are different universes. There's a lot of similarities in industries. People don't realize how transferable our skills are and how much there are similarities in different businesses, different organizations, different actually industries, and there's so much crossover. All of our skills are transferable. I mean, we're not born knowing how to do anything. We come here, we learn how to do the things we need to do to get by and survive and have the experiences that we have in this lifetime. And one of the things that we sometimes don't realize, when we get stuck in a path and we feel like we should stay in this path because it's what we decided, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so we just keep doing it. We keep doing the same things that we've been doing, and then we get more and more unhappy. Not everybody gets unhappy, but sometimes repetition breeds boredom, and doing the same thing all the time, expecting different results, of course, they say that leads to insanity, and there might be something to that. So, have you ever been taken for granted? Our idiom for Supersize Your Business today was never take anything for granted. And it got me to thinking, well, have I, number one, taken people, places, or things for granted? Absolutely, positively. I think as a human, we're probably all guilty of that. If we think about it, chances are we have had people do things for us, or we've had situations that were awesome for us that we didn't appreciate at the time. Have you ever been in a relationship and you really took the person for granted and you didn't realize how awesome they were and how good they were to you until you weren't in that relationship anymore? Have you ever had a job where you just assumed you were going to work there forever, and all of a sudden that business went out of business, or you got laid off, or COVID hit and you're, let go or temporarily furloughed, or the business actually went away for a long period of time, and you had to do some soul searching and say, I assumed I was going to be working there forever. I took for granted that I could work there as long as I wanted to, and it would never go away. And lo and behold, it's gone away. So, what am I going to learn from this? What am I going to do now? And I think even though COVID is morphing and changing, and the world, I kind of feel bad for how many people are waiting for the world to go back to normal. Will some things return to the world? Absolutely, and they are. Will they ever be the same? I don't know. Maybe they'll be better, right? I like to think that things will be better. They won't be the same as they were, but they'll be better, because we're supposed to be always making the world better, right? Things are supposed to always be continually improving, not getting worse. So I like to stay on the positive side of things and just assume we're going to all come together and make life and the world a better place, not a worse place. So, have you been taken for granted? Well, absolutely. I'm sure, and I can't think of very many ways that I've been taken for granted. I don't feel like a victim or anything, but I'm sure there have definitely been people in relationships with me that have taken me for granted, that I did a lot of nice things. Just hung up on somebody. And they took me for granted. And I also know that I've been on the other side of that. Sometimes we don't know how people actually feel about us, or how they really feel about our business, or how they really feel about working with us, or they really feel about our performance. And then we're surprised when something changes. Now, I am of the mind these days, and I wasn't always, that there are no guarantees in life. The only thing that we can be absolutely sure of is that we were born, we're living, and we're going to die someday. Everything else is up in the air, and we shouldn't assume anything about anyone or anything, because we don't know the whole story. We don't even understand ourselves, the vast majority of us. How on earth do we think that we're going to expect to understand any other person, much less things in the world that are even more complicated? And I don't think there's anything more complicated than human beings, but human beings are the ones that create all the complication in the world. So, never taking anything for granted means that we appreciate things. We don't take things for granted. We don't assume. I love assume. Don't make an ass out of you and me. So that's one of the best ways to remember to not do it. Don't assume. Ask questions. Find out. Be curious. Give people the benefit of the doubt by asking them what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's going on. Don't assume that you know. And so often as humans, we automatically assume. We make assumptions about other people's intents. We make assumptions about other people's feelings. We make assumptions about other people's motives. We make assumptions that other people are thinking and feeling and behaving like we would in a similar situation. And that's like one of the worst things we can do, is to assume that other people think and feel and behave like we do, because they don't. We're all different. We all have different makeups, different experiences, different beliefs, different values, different everything. So to expect that two people are going to act the same way in a similar situation is very naive. So I'm going to think about today taking people for granted, and how I have, played into that, or how we just naturally do that. And then I'm going to make some amends, I'm sure, because I don't want the people, especially the people I love and care about and work with and interact with and partner with for different areas and aspects of my life, I don't want them to ever even have a modicum of thought that I don't love and appreciate absolutely everything they do and that they are. And that includes their differences. I love the differences between myself and the people I work with, because guess what? If everybody was like me, the world would be one massively freaking boring place. So I appreciate all of people, and I'm curious about people's differences, because I know that I am the product of my past experiences, and I suspect, and my choices, and I suspect that all the other people that we meet are just as well. And so I'm curious, what past experiences have you had that have led you to the point that you're at right now? I mean, it's a great way to think of it. I mean, it's like, instead of getting upset because somebody is cutting you off in traffic, think, I wonder what's going on in their day that they're in such a hurry, or that they think that they need to be in the front of the line, or whatever. What might be going on with this person? And I don't assume. I just question. I say, I wonder what, and then I just let it go and I go do my own thing, right? So never take anything or anyone for granted. And we will. It's human nature to do that. But let's be more cognizant of it and make sure that we're not intentionally using or manipulating or harming other people, Inadvertently, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen, because we don't always know what people expect from us. Maybe that's another place to start, is remember to be clear with your expectations, and encourage people to be clear with their expectations of you. I always do that whenever I start a new job or working with a new client. The first thing we do is I find out what they want and what they need, and then we share our expectations. I want to be very clear on what they expect of me, and I want them to be very clear on what I expect of them and what their part in the relationship is. Because if we're not having a relationship, we're not going to have a very good consulting practice, right? We're not going to have, or not the practice, but interaction. And that is a relationship. And we want our relationships to be good, because they want to get the results they want, and I darn well sure want to make sure they get the results that they want. That's otherwise, what's my reason for being? If I can't help people get the results they want, then why am I interacting with them? There's no point. There's no purpose. And sometimes we just interact with people for the fun of it, but that's the purpose, right? Is the fun of it, the experience. So that was our idiom today. Never take anything for granted. Our annual challenge to do one thing every day that centers us, our All About You 365-day challenge, was an interesting one. It was literally about stretching our quadriceps, and it gives an exercise to do, which I have not done yet, I admit, and I will do this without falling down. That's my goal, and my intent is to do a minute of stretching to reduce stress without falling down. Now, most people probably don't have to say the without falling down part, but I know that if I don't intend to do it without falling down, chances are I might actually fall down, which would be an embarrassing thing. I'll make sure I'm doing it by myself, but it would also probably hurt. And I'm not into falling down. The older I get, the less I choose to fall down, the less I choose to do activities that I would actually physically fall down at. Now, last time I fell down, I was just walking at the park and sprained my ankle, twisted my ankle, and had to hobble back to my car and was laid up for like 3 weeks, which led to some other health challenges, which was like 3 months, which is super annoying, especially when you're busy and you're trying to do things. Health challenges are annoying, but I think it was like, hey, slow down, make sure you're doing what you want to do, pay attention. It was, whenever I have a health challenge, I know it's a stop, pay attention to what's going on, because there's something you're not paying attention to. At least that's my belief. So Get Up and Go Challenge, October 1st, we'll hit that. And I did not decide this past weekend what I'm going to do with that, how I'm going to change and morph it. I have a tickle in my eye. But I'll work on that this week, I'm sure. I'll make some time. I've got it in my schedule to work on that this week and figure out, well, what do I really want to do? How do I want to impact and change that? How do I want to supercharge it so it's even more effective for people and for me? I always want it to be better each time I do it. And this will be our 9th, I can't believe it, our 9th Get Up and Go Challenge. It's a free 30-day challenge to install what I call the SOAP framework, which is a process for handling changes and challenges, and installing that in our subconscious so that handling changes and challenges, which guess what? We're going to have changes and challenges every day of our life, becomes automatic for us. We automatically handle them in a way on the subconscious level that creates the best results for us. Now, a lot of us already automatically handle changes and challenges, but we're not doing it in a way that is actually good for us. We're either ignoring or procrastinating or pretending the change or challenge didn't exist, and we're not making progress, or we're actually losing ground because we're just letting things happen around us, and we're not participating in our own lives. So that's my intent of the challenge, is to install automatically in each and every one of us the ability to handle changes and challenges in the best way for us, in a positive way that makes the world a better place, makes our life better automatically, so that we don't have to stop and think and consciously work through every change or challenge that comes our way. Sometimes will we choose to do that? Absolutely. The people that chose to do that when COVID hit, to actually stop rock and roll, stop and think about, okay, this happened, now what? Now what am I going to do? What story am I telling myself? What was I doing? What happened? What am I going to do now? What is my current situation? What do I want it to be? And now the rest of the SOAP framework fills in the gap between where we are and where we want to be. And if we install that in our subconscious, which is super easy to do just through a little bit of repetition and through a few examples of our own, it's easy to install a process in our subconscious. We do it all the time. Most of the time we do it without thinking about it. We do it on a subconscious level. Our subconscious just runs 24/7 all the time, automatically, without us consciously thinking about it. It controls our breathing. It controls our sneezing, our blinking of our eyes. It controls our muscles. It controls everything that we don't need to consciously think about. Most of what we consciously think about is just a fraction of what it takes to get through a day in our life, right? All right, that's enough pontificating on that today. Pontificating is obviously my favorite word lately. I've used it like every few days. I don't know why. Probably because I talk a lot. If I can help you in any way, if you have a question about offline or online business in just about any industry, if I haven't actually owned a business in the industry, I guarantee I've worked with someone in just about every industry you can imagine. And I guarantee I can help you get to your next step. Won't get you to exactly where you want to go just on a quick question, but if you're stuck and you don't have anybody to ask, I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're stuck and they don't have anyone. So I want to be that resource. Ask, just ask. You know, usually you can just ask Google or go on YouTube to figure out what your next step is, because asking or going on Google or YouTube, guess what? That is a step, right? That's a step toward what you want. That's a step toward finding something out. That's a step toward being curious. That's an action. So you can do that, but if you don't find what you need, or you're still lost or stuck and you're frozen and not moving, just ask, because I don't want anybody to, I've been there, done that. It doesn't feel good. It feels like we're stuck in a trap or an endless loop or a Groundhog Day, and none of us have to be, so we can always just ask. Ask me if you've got no one else to ask. I'll make that offer as long as I can, and then when I run out of time and energy, I'll stop making that offer. But I don't want you or me or anyone to ever feel like we're stuck and we have no resources, because we have infinite possibilities and infinite resources at our fingertips these days. No matter what's going on in the world around us, we get to decide how we're going to be, how we're going to show up, who we're going to be, and what we're going to do as we interact with the rest of the world and we create the lives that we want. All right, have an awesome day, an awesome Monday. Happens to be Monday here in my neck of the woods, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.